Hi, my name is Monica and I am officially a registered nurse, which sounds crazy, but I actually took my NCLEX a week ago and passed in 75 questions, which is crazy. So for all of you out there who are studying, who are going to take the NCLEX, at some point, you got this, and here's some tips I wanted to share with you that I think were helpful to me. So my first recommendations would be to do practice questions before you graduate. I did Kaplan, so I did 50 questions a week and then 100 questions a week at mid-semester. So I think, those questions NCLEX style are so different. They are, a bit more challenging. There's, a lot of select all that apply, doing practice questions and everything. So it's a different style of question. So I think that having the background of doing the questions, so at least you are familiar with them, can make it after you graduate a little less stressful. That's my personal opinion. If you're lucky enough to have access to those, I think it's a really good idea just to have you get used to them. So when you graduate, it's not such a big shock of how different they are than nursing school. My second recommendation would be to have a question bank. So if you're going to choose Kaplan, UWorld, just something that you can have the questions for. I couldn't imagine studying without having a question bank because, part of studying for the NCLEX, is learning how to do questions. So if you have some kind of question bank, I think that's going to be extremely helpful for doing well on the NCLEX. Also, for that too, I would say don't wait too long to take the NCLEX, okay? So I know it's stressful, I know you're nervous, I know you just graduated and you don't want to start studying, but it's so much better to take it sooner rather than later. And you don't have to take it in a week or 2 weeks. I took it exactly a month after I graduated, and I felt that was perfect because the longer you wait, the more content's gonna come out of your brain and you're not gonna remember as much. So that I really recommend to take it, sooner rather than later. You can just get it over with and you're more likely to do better. So another thing that I have is to make sure to, sorry, I'm looking at my notes. So study content and questions. So it's good to study the questions because they're, NCLEX style questions are, a little different than, per se your nursing style questions. So when you're studying, your Kaplan or your UWorld, I think it's also a good idea to kind of review some content. So I got this Kaplan book. It came with our, program when I bought it. So this just has, the kind of basic instructions, safety and infection control, blood stuff, stuff for, different heart dysrhythmias and everything. And I think that was good to look over. You don't have to finish the whole thing, I would say. But I mean, there was some stuff that I knew I wanted to go over, like infection control, which illnesses are droplet versus airborne. So some content I think is definitely good to review. Just so you have that in your mind and you're not as, nervous, and therefore, because it's impossible to remember everything from nursing school. So I think reviewing the stuff that that you need some touching up on is really good to have as well. So don't just study questions, I would do a little content as well, just to help you out. Also too, I have that it's okay if you take more than 1 minute per question. So when I was studying for the NCLEX, the nice thing I liked about Kaplan is that they had 3 CAT exams, which are the computer adaptive testing. It's similar to the NCLEX in the way that when you take a question, it keeps track of what's wrong and what's right. So it gives you below the passing line or above the passing line. So that way it kind of gets you more prepared for the NCLEX if you, kind of see how that test goes. So I really liked that aspect. I really liked taking those exams. But for some of those exams that I took for Kaplan, I did spend more than 1 minute per question, which I know is kind of what they say is a no-no. But, I didn't do it for every question, but there were definitely some where I really had to critically think, when I was taking my Kaplan CAT just because I wanted to like really critically think through each answer of which one, if I was between two, like what would happen if I picked this answer, what would happen. So if you need to take more than a minute for a question, not a huge deal. If you do it for every question, that could be a problem, but it's better to like, maybe take your time a little bit than rush through and just panic and pick an answer. So not a huge deal again, but try not to do that for every single question. Another thing I have is to drive to your test center before you actually go. So, as we know, GPSs can mess up. So I think it's good to drive at least a couple days before your test. That way you know where it is, where you're supposed to go, and that way it's not another thing to stress you out during your test day. Because you really want no stressful, events to happen the morning of your exam. So driving to the place is a really good thing. The next thing I have is to have a positive attitude. So everyone's going to be nervous. You're going to be terrified, especially, like you're like, oh my gosh, if I fail, I have to wait 45 days. And like if you have a job, but you know what? Don't think about that. Just have a positive attitude, okay? Because if you do fail, you're going to get through it and you can retake it, okay? So it's, you pass nursing school. This is, completely different. So have a positive attitude going in. So when I went in, I jammed in my car to like Cardi B and music and stuff to keep me like pumped, and like you go into the test facility and just keep that focused. Don't let the pressure get to you, okay? Because, there are gonna be people around you who maybe will be like freaking out, or you just have to worry about you in that situation, okay? So just kind of keep a positive attitude, and throughout the exam, I'd recommend keeping a positive attitude, Obviously, I can't talk about, stuff on the exam, but, just don't let yourself, get to a place where you're freaking out, So just try to practice at home, I would say, kind of what an NCLEX would be like, So if you have the CAT exams in the Kaplan, those are amazing. If not, try doing 200 questions for a UWorld or something, I'd also recommend, too, is not getting your heart set on 75. So I didn't expect to get 75 at all. So I expected to take at least 120, and I was definitely okay with that because it's not a big deal if you do get over 75 and still pass, because you still passed, it doesn't mean you're like any worse or anything, like you still passed, you were still a nurse, so don't let that get to you. But yeah, so I know people, it's hard because you want 75 because you want to be done, but if that question hits 76, don't panic, okay? Just keep going, so, when I did my CAT exams and I hit, I was like, ooh, 76 on my Kaplan ones, and it hit, to 76 and 77 and kept going. I just didn't let it get to me. I'm still in the game, because if you get questions, you're still in the game. Yeah, so don't have your heart set on 75, because if you go over, then you're going to start to like panic. So don't let that get to you. Yeah, but you can do it. Just, the stuff because you've passed nursing school. Like you got this far, so you know enough. So you just have to know how to do questions, and I'd recommend that doing with study methods, such as, question banks, know how to get the right answer, how to critically think through each one. Whether it means, you want to work on, like health promotion or like pharmacological or infection and safety control. Like there's different things to like review. And, if you have a question bank kind of thing, it'll tell you like what kind of a theme, which ones you're getting wrong. And so you can kind of review those things more. But just go for it, and after the test, you might feel like crap, but just try to find something to distract yourself, whether it be, because I laid in bed all day and watched You season 2, and that was such a nice distraction, but it took me 48 hours to find out my results, which doesn't sound long, but it feels long, like my stomach hurts so bad. So just try to find something to distract yourself, and know that if you do fail, it's not the end of the world, okay? You're gonna still become a nurse, and you can do it. So yeah, so these are some tips that I thought would help you hopefully do well on the NCLEX. Yeah, so I mean, I'm just so thankful I never have to take it again. So If you guys have any questions, please feel free to reach out, and I hope you guys have a fantastic day. Bye!